Morning, Blueberry. How are you doing today, huh? How are you doing today? Good girl. Does it feel good? Hi guys, Russ here from Wilson Land and Cattle Company. Today I want to talk a little bit about Stockpile and how we utilize the Stockpile to ensure that we have quality or good enough quality to get our livestock through the winter time. There's some different things that we do here to try and divvy out the Stockpile. We've worked hard all summer long to get this Stockpile here so we don't have to feed hay or feed as little as hay as possible. We're out here grazing in the snow. Cows haven't had any water yet today. I checked the tank when we went back through. We're going to throw the drone up and take a look at some of the fields and how we utilize them, I guess you could say. Got our drone back from repair. It must have been really bad because they just sent us a whole new drone. The girls are grazing here. They're happily grazing. Nobody's making any noise. Everybody's got their heads down grazing, happy as can be. This here's super high quality forage here that they're grazing. This field here probably has about 110 days of rest on it. It's primarily orchard grass. There is a little bit of clover in it. We're going to come back in this year and put some clover, more clover in with it. This field here I was going to completely redo this year after we grazed the first graze off of it. It come back so nice that we just left it grow and give it as much rest as possible to do the best it can. Here's a horse nettle. There's a horse nettle and there's one. So this field has some horse nettles in it, some timothy here. This field always did grow nice timothy. A lot of timothy in here as well, but it's like I said, it's primarily orchard grass. We'll go over here and take a look at a winter cover crop that we got planted. It looks really nice. I've showed this field in a couple other videos, but I just want to kind of show you the progression of it. See here, it looks really good. It will be really nice whenever the snow goes off. And then there's one down there along the woods. It's not quite as nice, but it's gonna come. It'll come through the winter time. I'm not too worried about it. It's only up maybe 3 or 4 inches. And with winter rye, it usually stays like a maroon color until it gets up about 6 inches tall. Okay, Stockpile. How do we utilize our Stockpile here on the farm? And like I said, I'm going to throw the drone up too. Whenever we're stockpiling, we have grasses that are in different stages of growth. And as you folks know me, I like to try and maintain at least 100 days rest average on the farm. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes the fields only get 45 days rest, but for the most part, on average, it's over 100 days of rest. Okay, so we come into the fall and we get, hey, there's a mouse. There's a mouse. Where'd he go? He's in there somewhere. I see him. Yeah, see that Stockpile is a lot nicer. There he goes. Than what you think. Down in underneath that snow. Well, find yourself a mouse, Scout. He's over here. He's in here someplace. I seen him. I seen him, Scout. Where's your mouse? Get you a mouse. He's in there. Yes, he is. He's in there. Get him out. Okay, how do we utilize our Stockpile? Okay, we come into the fall of the year, and this year we didn't actually have a killing frost almost until the 1st of November, which was well over a month late. Usually we have a killing frost sometime in September, but we actually made it into, I think it was November, I don't know. It was in November when we had our first really killing frost. Okay, we've grazed the farm throughout the summer. We've rotated the cows across the farm, and we have some fields that we tuck back to use for stockpile, like this field here, an example. I wanted to give it as much rest as possible so those plants could put down roots and become more robust and fill in the pasture field, basically heal the soil. So that's why this field here was rested. But whenever we come into the fall of the year, say October, November, that's when we usually start into our stockpile. That's whenever our grasses start slowing down. Our cool season grasses start slowing down in later part of the year. And then it actually becomes stockpile because it's not really growing that much. It continues to grow throughout the winter. I've shown, just by going out and measuring the grass, I've shown 2.5 to 3 inches of regrowth through December and January here on the farm. I actually went out and I flagged it and cut it off, and then I measured a regrowth on it. So it still continues to grow throughout the winter time until it freezes down really hard, and then, you know, basically it stops. But as soon as that soil warms up above freezing, it starts growing again. Getting back to our stockpile, what we'll do is in the fall of the year, usually it's fairly dry. Before it starts getting really wet, we'll go back through and we graze the wettest parts of our farm. And in this case, it's over there along the edge of the woods, and then it cuts across the road, down across, and down into another woods back in there. This basically, this half of the farm is considered wetland soil, and then we have some wetland soil back in, you know, it actually comes across here and then down. So we'll graze those fields that are considered wetland soil or wet soil whenever we can in the fall of the year, because we know whenever it starts getting really wet in the winter time, we will not be able to get on those fields and graze them. And to me, it really doesn't matter what stage of growth. It can have 20 days, it can have 45 days, it can have 100 days growth on it. I'll graze those fields off whenever it's dry in the fall, because I know I won't be able to come back to them until the following year sometime. And most generally, because they're wetland soil, I won't be able to get on them till probably the middle of June at the earliest. So it really doesn't matter. And then after we get those wetland soils grazed off, we'll go back through our warm season grass fields. We have 4 or 5 of them here. We have 4 or 5 warm season grass fields that actually accumulates to approximately 17 acres, I think. Approximately 17 acres. And we'll come back through those and we'll graze the cool season grasses that have, after the warm season grasses have basically stopped growing. Now I do have 1 acre field over on the other farm. I haven't grazed it at all yet. It has a lot of switchgrass in it, which is 6-7 feet tall, and then there's a lot of cool season grasses underneath, and it will make good winter stockpile, so we're just going to leave it and graze it in the winter time here. But after we get those grazed off, and then we'll start on the grasses that have the least amount of rest on it. And the reason that we use we graze the ones with the least amount of rest on it is because those grasses will not stockpile until February, March sometime. Once they get frozen, they're super high quality. The cells in the wall of the plant actually break down, and essentially it turns to mush. It just doesn't winter well. So we'll start on the fields with the least amount of rest, and we'll go through and we'll graze those, and we continue to progress from, like, say 20 days, 45 days, up into 100 days. And once we get up into the 100-day rest period, those fields typically will stockpile into February, March. Usually about the middle of March, they're getting pretty ragged, pretty nasty, but the cows are still able to utilize those forages there. So we don't worry about that so much. But get those fields with the least amount of rest grazed off first. And most generally they're 12 to 16, maybe 20 inches tall. And the cows aren't going to go through 3 feet of snow to graze those fields anyhow. So get on them, get them grazed off, utilize the forages. That's basically how we do it. And as we progress through the winter time, we'll still have some fields that kind of lay wet. We can't really get on them whenever it's super wet out. So what we do is we'll move the cows from field to field to field. And whenever I throw the drone up, you're going to see here in this field here, there's a few sections that I didn't graze, and that was basically due to deer season. But you know, like now we're going to be getting some rain here later today. Things are going to get kind of wet. This field here, I know I can be on it whenever we have 4 or 5 inches of rain and not mess anything up. Now if I was on a field back in here, we had 4 or 5 inches of rain, we're going to have some pugging issues, and we don't want that. So if we have any of those fields, say down here, you can't really see through the cows. I have another field down here that has stockpile in it. The lower half of it cannot be grazed whenever it's super wet out, and the upper part of that field we can graze whenever it gets really wet out. So what we'll do is whenever it's dry or frozen down, we'll graze that lower half, and then we'll graze the upper half whenever it's too wet to graze that lower half, and we'll just move them back and forth. That's basically how we'll do it. Okay guys, let's throw the drone up and just kind of take a flyover. Hopefully the darn thing flies. I updated the firmware and software and all that on it, and got it all calibrated yesterday, so let's see how it works. I don't know. I'm kind of nervous too because I don't have a piece of Velcro to put my light on it, and there's a hawk, a red-tailed hawk, sitting over in here in a tree. He may try and take my drone. They say that that's a problem with these drones. So Scott, he's still over there hunting. He loves to hunt for mice. He can't be out too much in hunting season here, so yesterday I caught one for him and took it home. He was very happy about that. Okay, I have a DJI Mini 2 that I fly. It's probably the least expensive, highest quality drone that you can get. So that's what I'm using. It's still kind of expensive as far as I'm concerned, but when it comes to quality drones, this one here probably has the best ratings. Okay, we're gonna get the drone out. This guy's little. I mean, it's tiny. You can stick it in your pocket. I really like this drone. It flies nice. It flies good in the wind. You don't have any issues with that. It's got a good camera on it. Just all in all, it's a decent little drone. I think I already... No, I didn't put a battery in it. Okay guys, let's get this drone up. Okay, we're going to take a look at some stockpile here we have. Just kind of go around the farm and show you what we have for stockpile. Get up above 100 feet. So that's what got me in trouble the last time I crashed. I flew it into a tree and I was down too low. So we're 140 feet there. I'm gonna zoom in so we can see here a little better. Kind of see what Stockpile looks from overhead. The field there that's in the center of the screen is fairly decent stockpiled field. And then we come over, we've grazed that one. And then we have a stockpiled field there, a couple acres. Zoom back out so we can see this a little better. Now we're approaching a native warm season grass field. It has some cool seasons in underneath it. We grazed at probably mid-October-ish, sometime in there. It's about 5.5 acres there. We're going to go across onto the other farm here first, and then we'll come back and take a look at that field on the left-hand side. Coming up to a silvopasture type setting. This here was pretty much all cherry trees, and they become diseased, and we had to cut them out of there. They had the peach bark beetle. It was destroying them. But the field off to the left there, the far left, that's fescue, and then this one right here in the center of the screen, that's primarily all orchard grass. And then there's actually 4 fields split up into this field here, and they're pretty much all fescues. And we're gonna fly over here and take a look. You can see there in the center of the screen the windbreaks. That's where we had the windbreaks at last year. This here's a native warm season field here. We will not graze that one again this year. We'll rest it. And then you can see the post and stuff. The field that those windbreaks are in, we'll be grazing them again with the mules. But the one that's right behind the windbreaks there, that one there's done for this year. We won't be grazing that one again. And then we're coming across over to pretty much where the mules have grazed already. And you can see here in the paddock there that there's no snow covering. There's actually 2 paddocks there that the mules are in and grazing. And then they have an alleyway set back to that barn there, and we bring them in during the daytime and let them back out at night. And I think they have 1 or 2 more moves, because we only let them have half of the field, and then we'll graze the back half off with the cows, because we're trying to stockpile that for the cows. And then continue across here. You know, the field on the fields on the left side of the fields are already grazed, the right side are not grazed. And then we come over, you can see I was talking about that switchgrass cool season grass field. There it is in screen. Let's see if we can get it a little closer. There we go. That has a lot of dry matter material in there, and we're gonna go ahead and harvest that out of there hopefully. And then we'll come over here. If there's another windbreak there, you can see. And then we have our jack donkey, a cow, a calf, and a bull in there. They'll probably be in this field here pretty much all winter. Just depends on the year, but there's a lot of stockpile there, so they'll probably be in there most of the winter. Let's go ahead and buzz on back over home, or back over to where we're at. We're going to take a look at, I'm going to put it in sport mode, see how fast we can get going with this bad boy. Doesn't seem to want to use the there we go. Okay, we must be almost out of range or something. Okay, this field that we're approaching here now is the wet field that I was talking about. It's the wet field that I was talking about. We just got done grazing that one here, a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago, somewhere around that neighborhood. I don't remember for sure. But this field here is super wet, and it was dry enough for us to get in there and get on it and get her grazed off, so that's what we did. The grasses were probably only the front half there. It's actually two different fields because there's right about the center of the screen there, it changes species on me. The back half is a fescue, sedge, rush grass field, and then the front half's primarily all orchard grass. And we grazed the orchard grass off. The orchard grass was pretty nice in there, actually. It was probably maybe 22-24 inches tall, and then we come back into that fescue and sedge and stuff. It was probably about 16 inches tall, so we wanted to try and get that grazed off before we got too much snow on the ground. You know, that's just one of the practices that we're using here. You know, get it grazed off if it's short, because the cows aren't going to, or any of the livestock aren't going to go through it. You can see that brown section there. There's a back half of a field that we grazed earlier this year. We're grazed up to about the center of the picture there, and then we have this back section to graze. That has over 400 days of rest on it. Didn't necessarily need to rest, but we just didn't get to it. That's just the way it is. We just didn't get to it. We'll get to it later here this winter. Won't have any issues. We're going to buzz it back across. We came across this field here with the cows, and then we turned there at the woods, and then we grazed out that field along the woods. And you can see the field there that's beside that field along the woods. That's Stockpile. There's no water in that field, so we gotta wait until there's snow on the ground in order to graze it. Just the way it is. And then we did graze this one, at least part of it. We grazed part of this one here. You can see the graze line there on it, and you can see how nice that cover crop field looks. Boy, it looks nice. The cows there, you can see where they were at last night. You know, whenever they go into a section, they usually knock all the snow out, or they eat the snow, one or the other. Yeah, let's buzz clear back. Let's go clear back to the woods here. There's two fields back here that we'll be grazing. These fields are in the center. There's two fields there in the center of the screen. Those are winter cover crop fields. And then we come back into, there's two fields back in here, and the one field I was saying earlier, it just doesn't do well if it's wet out, so we can graze it whenever it's froze down or if it's dry. And then the front half of that field, there's a side-by-side trail down there, you can see it. We'll graze the front half whenever it's wet out. We can get on that field when it's 4 or 5 inches of rain or melting snow or something like that. And then we buzz on over here to where the windbreaks are at. And that's where we had to pull the windbreaks in for the cows one evening there. It was, the wind chills was down around 0, so we pulled the windbreaks in. We haven't needed them since, so they just kind of sitting there waiting for whenever we need them. Hopefully that helped you out on how to utilize your stockpile forages. It's something that we strive for every year. You know, if we can keep them cows out 300+ days a year, only feeding hay less than 60 days a year, it really saves you on money and makes your profitability a lot bigger. So keep that in mind, guys. You know, strive for that winter stockpile, and hopefully you have some good luck with it. You know, if you have any questions or any suggestions, you know, give me a yell. You know, I'm open for suggestions. You know, we do the best we can, just like you are on your farm, and we continue to learn. So please subscribe, like, comment, share with a friend, and hit that notification bell. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.